What's clearly leading the gains this morning is the Japanese markets.
They've been putting out this 18,420 number for the last at least one and a half weeks or so, and that remains unbroken.
But I think taking some money off the table yet again will be prudent.
Now, the Tata Group has signed a big deal, a $1.6 billion electric vehicle battery plant deal.
So the loan disbursed are at 44 lakh, which is up nearly 52% YOY.
Straight off the bat, very strong start, 80 points in the green.
When we reduce the price, our CNG and PNG volumes have picked up now.
Going forward, some, on the cost of borrowing, the rate's coming down a little bit.
18,600 in the Nifty. We're up close to about 90 points.
No, earlier, of course, we were listed on BSE, but we were trading on NSE.
India has really become I would say, the island of growth.
A company which has signed the MOU with the Gujarat government is Agartha's Energy System Solutions Limited. It is a Tata Group company.
Some popular cough syrups have been pulled off the shelves after the government banned 14 fixed-dose drug combinations.
Markets, they are above that 18,600 mark.
Well, that's the day so far. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Closing Bell. We're coming to you from the CNBC-TV18 News studios as always. I am Prashant. With me, my colleagues Rima and Surubi here in the studios, and Nigel is joining us from the newsroom floor. Guys, hi, good afternoon. Things are looking up and up, and they've been up and up since the word go. Actually, we are holding on to the levels. There has been no great big sell-off or anything. I think initially, right after markets opened, there was perhaps a little bit of pullback, but after that, things have just kind of moved along. So if you want to look at what's moving the Nifty, it's banks, Axis, ICICI, Reliance. I mean, those three between them are adding about 45, 50 points to the move that we have on the Nifty. Banks are doing a little better. I mean, 2 touch points at the 20-day moving average last Thursday and then Friday as well. Actually, Friday's low and the 20-day exactly coincided by a 2-point difference. And it's seeing a decent bounce back, better than what the Nifty is doing today. Small caps, 3% rally Friday to Friday last week, and they're doing well again. Mid caps are close behind, so many pockets is what we're going to focus on in the broader markets, mid caps and small caps. That's basically been the theme, and that I think continues. Today, for example, defense shipbuilders, for example, that's one particular pocket which is flying off completely, 10 to 18% rally. There are only 3 or 4 of those, and all of them are on fire on your screen, but we'll come back to this with more details in just a bit. Rima.
Hi, so it's been a very, very steady session, right? At no point of time, 18,600 has been given up when it comes to the Nifty. Through the day, we've seen some stocks give up their gains. There is a rotation taking place. Pull up the intraday chart of HDFC Bank, you would see a fall. Pull up the intraday chart of something like a TCS. That's come under pressure as the day has progressed. But on the other hand, you've got names like Reliance Industries pulling up the market. So there has been some give and take in terms of individual stocks, but they're netting each other off. And so far, the day has been absolutely steady. Look at the Reliance Industry chart. The stock has zoomed close to about 1%, and this has been an underperformer. But today, the stock has done well. Broadly, you've got the Nifty Bank outperforming, and that's important, considering that we've got the RBI policy on Thursday. So ahead of that, there is no big nervousness coming through in the banking pack. Names like an Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, IndusInd Bank, in fact, are seeing some amount of buying. Of late, the number of brokerages who are now bullish on the Indian markets has picked up. If you remember, since the beginning of the year, most brokerages were saying that this is going to be a flat kind of year. Don't expect too much. But now brokerages are saying that things are picking up. Let me quickly, pull out 2 of them. Nomura. They say, we believe any pullback in the markets would present a buying opportunity. We think Indian stocks could trade at a premium to the pre-COVID-19 valuations, giving the stronger corporate earnings, reasonable local macro stability leading to a positive investor sentiment. Ambit is raising the question, right? Do you think the Nifty will be able to scale the wall of worry, which is a level of 18,600 to 19,000? And they say there is a high likelihood that the Nifty will be able to scale this wall of worry. They're comparing the macro and the market parameters across 3 previous episodes. One was in October 21, one was in December 2022, and one was in May 2023, when the Nifty almost got to that 18,600 to the 19,000 level. they conclude that the market seems to be the strongest this time around versus the previous two episodes because valuations are more reasonable. There is breadth in the participation of the upward rally. Earnings surprise was reasonable compared to the previous episodes. FI inflows have returned. They're expected to sustain. So which is why Ambit believes that there is a chance that the Nifty will be able to scale that wall of worry, which they're saying is, these levels of 18,600 to 19,000. So I'm saying the market sentiment has turned. And now there is, again, that, buy and dips approach, despite the up move that we've seen in the last 2 months.
No, absolutely. I think the bulls have been waiting with bated breath to see if the Nifty can scale that wall of worry. And we're just, 1.5% away from that level of the all-time high, 18,887. By the way, the other pocket of the market that has been super strong for the past couple of days, today included, is auto. The Nifty auto index is up 1.5%. The best performing index today, beating banks when you're talking about the green screen. And as many as, I think, 3 auto stocks, last I checked, were hitting their fresh 52-week highs on the Nifty itself. Bajaj Auto continues to hit those highs. M&M is at a fresh 52-week high. And Tata Motors as well has had a pretty good session, 52-week highs for this one as well. So autos revved up nice and strong. Prashant was talking about the shipbuilders. I'll just throw in one more name. Even the state-owned entity, Shipping Corporation of India, even that stock's up about 5-6%. So shipbuilders, ship owners, it just seems to be a massive shipping kind of a move that's playing out today. Defense/shipping, and we'll talk more about it. Some of the railway-related stocks, absolute tragic events over the weekend, and there is obviously this move to install better safety equipment, better signaling equipment, and some of the companies that dabble in that space, like HBL Power Systems, some of those stocks are up and about as well. So enough to talk about as we go over. Nigel, so it's just almost there. But I guess the bulls are waiting for that one final push. Not sure if it's going to be the RBI or the Fed, but pretty green, at least for the time being.
Well, I think it has to be the RBI governor, if you're looking for that punch, because last Monday, this Monday as well, you have a gap up, but we're unable to build onto those gains. And what's standing out today is the mid-cap index is underperforming, though there are plenty of stocks that are moving around. Can we get to around that 18,670 odd mark? Remember, we did a U-turn from there. So that's a mark that the bulls are tracking. But Kush Bora is with us. He'll help us out with a technical trade on the index as well as individual stocks. Hi, Kush. Good afternoon. What's the trade on the index first?
Hi, Nigel. First off, thank you for having me on the show. Well, I think the bulk of the trade has actually played out, today and the last, couple of days. Now, I still believe that the trajectory is northwards. I have a couple of technical points which could perhaps be a bit of a speed bump, not a stopper, but a bit of a speed bump. You see, the VIX is at its lowest level since I think about a year and a half, or probably even more. Now, that could be a bit of a spoil sport. Any uptick in VIX could mean some profit taking, that could come, on the indices. And also, we've not been able to take out the recent highs that we made, which is around 18,660 on the Nifty and about 44,500 on the Bank Nifty. So until these levels are taken out, I think, probably we could be a little sideways. As I said, the bias will still remain positive, but I think the bulk of the trade has played out. So for me, now the indices will remain a buy on dips. If we get, dips anywhere close to 18,500, 18,450 on the Nifty and about 43,800 on the Bank Nifty is where, the payoff ratio will become extremely favorable. And that's when I would consider buying, at least on the indices.
Okay. And what about your individual recommendations, Kush?
Sure. Plenty of action in the mid-cap, small-cap space. So I've got a couple of them, from, that space. Telecom Engineering, the stock has been doing well. And today we've seen a fresh, breakout after 3 to 4 days of consolidation. So Telecom Engineering remains a buy. 570 and 595 are the two targets that I'll be playing for. 545 would be my stop loss. The other stock is Kirloskar Oil. This stock too had seen a fabulous run-up, but had been trading, with a mild positive bias. We've seen a bit of a consolidation here. Today we are seeing a very clear breakout. So I think this momentum could very well continue for levels of 450 and 460. 415 is where I would place my stop loss.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's talk about Tata Chemicals. That's a stock which is perked up on Tata Group's plan to invest 13,000 crore in a lithium-ion battery unit in Gujarat. Sonal is here with the details. Sonal.
Thank you so much for that. Well, first the news, of course, that Tata Group has signed $1.6 billion of electric vehicle battery power plant deal. And this will be done by one of the subsidiary of the groups. And they have committed this capex via the subsidiary. They will be setting up 20 gigawatt hour of lithium ion cell manufacturing unit in Gujarat. The initial capacity is that, of course, which will be doubled in the second phase of expansion as per the filing. The time frame for ramp up and technology tie-ups is not yet known, but of course it could benefit Tata Motors because that is a big push that the company is focusing on as well. Additionally, Tata Chemicals will also be in focus because remember, it makes chemicals which are used in lithium carbonate batteries, and that ultimately goes into the EV ecosystem. Every 1 ton of lithium carbonate which is used in EVs requires about 2 tons of soda ash, which is the main product of the company. We spoke to the company earlier today. They did tell us that they are the second derivative suppliers to EV battery manufacturers. They are already in deals and in agreements with lithium carbon manufacturers across the world, and this will only add to that particular agreement. However, they did not commit to whether they will be supplying this extra soda ash that is required for Tata Group's plants as well, and large part of their supply goes to the automobile segment. Centrum says that 500 tons of lithium carbonate is required for 1 gigawatt hour battery. So for 20 gigawatt hour, it will require around 20,000 tons of soda ash. A company is going in the expansion phase. They will be expanding their soda ash capacity, which will be around 1.3 million metric tons post the expansion. So 20,000 tons would just be 1.5% of their total capacity. They will not be needing anything more. So while they did not commit to it, looks like they'll get additional volumes because of this deal, and that's why the street is excited.
Okay, absolutely. The stock's been up right from the word go. Well, thanks for that. We did actually catch up with Mr. R. Mukundan, Managing Director and CEO at Tata Chemicals. Listen in to what he had to say about this opportunity.
The company which has signed the MOU with the Gujarat government is Agartha's Energy System Solutions Limited. It is a Tata Group company. Certainly to the extent that if there is any opportunities there, we will examine it on its merits, and they would also examine their supply based on their merits. I think that goes without saying. We have contracts with lithium carbonate suppliers in South America and other parts of the world. So they do feed into the supply chain. So we are today probably tier 3, not even tier 2, which means we are not the suppliers to the battery manufacturer, but we are suppliers to suppliers of battery manufacturer. That's where we are. And if any opportunity does arise, we will certainly work towards that.
All right, suppliers to suppliers of battery manufacturers, well, but they're in the value ecosystem, value chain. Tata Chemicals in focus. Well, Mehraboon Irani is now joining us on Closing Bell. Mehraboon, it's a pleasure. Welcome you on the program as always. Thanks very much for your time. Any thoughts, Mehraboon? I mean, Tata Chemicals, you just heard from the management. They don't speak very often on TV, but you heard from them. I mean, comment on that. And since you're coming back after a while, your thoughts on the market as well, Mehraboon, at an aggregate level. Go on.
See, first of all, as far as Tata Chemicals goes, I think it's the sheer simple story of soda ash increase capacity. The management sounds gung-ho based on the global demand for lithium-ion batteries. Now, they are also talking of expanding capacity in US, India, Kenya. Great. But ultimately, what is Tata Chemicals is something like a commodity stock at the end of it all. Should one put in incremental money based on the management perception? The answer is why not? If somebody has the money to put in, it's a great company otherwise. But a commodity stock at 90 rupees earnings at nearly 10 times P ratio, I would not personally be interested in putting in money at the moment. So there are declines as and when it comes in the market and you get the stock lower, you can definitely look into it. As far as the demand goes, lithium ion batteries, I think they are right. They have got contracts in place. So with full respect to the management of Tata Chemicals over the years, I think at this present level, I would not be tempted to put in more money because at the end of it all, commodities are too difficult to predict beyond a point. So at the present level, if I was holding the stock, I would continue to hold on to it, but would not add further to my holdings. As regards the market, Prashant, I think...
yes, Mehraboon, please continue.
I would say that what has happened between March and May, what has happened between March and now, I think every voice in the street, personally including me, I think we were all talking of maybe 16,000, 16,500, 16,700 coming on the Nifty, and we nearly went right on that. But with the way the market has rebounded by nearly 8% in terms of Nifty and portfolios appreciating 10 to 15%, what has changed? I would say two factors. If you ask, 95% of the voices will say FIs are coming to buy into the country. That happened because the US dollar index shed some weight, point number one. Point number two, China is still not being taken too seriously for its own internal problems. But the main point was the result season. I think result season by and large, most results were much ahead of expectations. And with the fancy of extrapolating earnings, I think people are now trying to say that earnings also are quite reasonable, the valuations right now in India. So these two reasons are the most important reasons. If you ask me what is the concern area as far as India goes, I would say my big concern, I think over so many years of being in the market, I have not seen reports coming every now and then about the forthcoming monsoon. If God forbid, as per what reports are coming about El Nino impact, 60%, 70%, 80% chances, I think if we have a bad monsoon, that possibly the market is going to shed decent weight from the present level. But apart from that, I don't see too many concerns. There will be a lot of noise coming on the political front as we go into October, November. But besides these two factors, I don't see too many concerns as far as India goes. Even as far as US goes, the US dollar index shedding weight, number one. Number two is 7 out of 10 voices who are talking of a full-blown recession coming, I think possibly have muted their expectations as far as the recession goes over there. The debt ceiling came into play. Now that has been taken care of. So while there are concerns as far as US goes, and let's be honest, I think the S&P and the Nasdaq, the two main indices of the US, are market cap indices and not individual stock indices. So even if 95-97% of the stocks are down, there is not too much of weight being given up by the S&P and Nasdaq, mainly because the top 5 or 7 companies, be it Google, be it Apple, be it Microsoft, they are such solid companies, not giving up too much of weight. So I think by and large the sentiment has improved. More and more people are sounding optimistic. And if you allow me to say it, are we going to see a new high coming in the near future? I would like to say yes, but I would still be watchful as far as what happens from the clouds above. If we have a decent monsoon, I promise you even a 20,000 by the end of 2023 is not ruled out before the political noise comes and creates a lot of commotion here and there.
Okay, got that, Mehraboon. So basically we have to pray to the rain gods. Hopefully they will oblige. And then I guess, that means that if that's in place, then you keep a positive view on the market. By the way, just one or two stocks in focus. Let's pull out the intraday chart on Nykaa. Nykaa's been seeing some interesting buying last few sessions. This happened last week as well. Stock is up about 10% in the month of June itself. And there we go. It's hitting a peak right now. 1% gain, but it's recovered very sharply in the last couple of minutes. Thought I'd point that out. That's Nykaa for you. The other stock that's in focus is InfoEdge. Now, InfoEdge has been trending down pretty much all through the session. It was down last 2% when I checked. And Reema, you were alerting us that there is this brokerage report, right? With a very scathing downside target to it. A target at what, 3,000, I think?
3,000, which means a cut of about 25-30% from the current levels. And the stock has anyway been an underperformer. And Macquarie has also added it to its Asia sell list. The main reason for that is that they believe the IT hiring slowdown will hurt Naukri's revenue. Naukri did very well, the recruitment business, because IT companies were hiring left, right, center. But that has slowed down and this will hurt. Second reason they also believe is that the other verticals like real estate, matrimony, Shiksha, the education vertical, there is no clear path to profitability. And thirdly, they're also a bit worried about the recent write-offs that they've done in investee companies. One of them was a company called 4B, a B2B network or a platform for brokers for real estate. And the company had written off a fair bit, close to about 300 crore rupees. They've now asked for a forensic audit as well. So they are a bit concerned on that front as well. So which is why Macquarie has a sell call, underperform call, and a target price of 3,000. Mehraboon, where do you stand on InfoEdge? It's been a wealth creator. Their execution has been flawless. They've also been investing, many of their investee companies have done phenomenally well, whether it's PB Fintech or Zomato. But now there is that headwind or the clouds of IT slowing down, IT hiring slowing down, which is hurting them. Growth rates have fallen down. But do you see more weakness in store?
No, as far as InfoEdge goes, let me be very honest and candid that I'm not tracking the stock in the recent past, so it won't be fair to comment. As far as the entire IT space goes, if you allow me to state, while being negative over the last 12 to 15 months, I am ready to stick my neck out now and say that somewhere in 2023, you will have possibly a great opportunity to buy fresh into IT, because I think you will get it at valuations which you can play out over the next 2 to 3 years. So I am turning a little bit positive on IT, not immediately. Maybe I'll wait for the first quarter results. So on the whole, IT as a sector is something which I feel could have it bottomed out or will bottom out and provide a great long-term investment opportunity.
Okay, all right. Merbon, stay with us for the time being, though. We'll slip into a snappy break. On the other side, our Alpha Manager of the Day, Amit Gupta, Vice President and Fund Manager at ICICI Securities, will be joining in.
CNG is good, but to get something, you have to give up something. OMG! It's CNG! Big boot, big appeal, big reaction. OMG! It's the Altroz iCNG.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time, when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, har pal aapke saath.
What if you could get your goods to the right place at the right time all the time? With IBM Consulting, AI-powered software can help automate your supply chain so products can be ordered, produced, and delivered more efficiently. What will you create? IBM, let's create.
Keeping up with the pace of life is not easy. To find the perfect balance, we need to savor the pause. See? It never ends.
नई कार तुमने कार इंश्योरेंस खरीदा होगा एगो ऐप से नहीं
आपको
नहीं
नहीं तो
कोई बात नहीं मूर्ति गलतियां होती रहती हैं कोई जरूरत नहीं है चेक करने नहीं
नई कार खरीदने से पहले एको चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
Welcome back. Well, as we've been telling you, a lot of stocks from the defense/shipbuilding space have been buzzing around in trade. You've got the likes of Mazagon Dock tracking a gain of almost 18% right now. Then there's Garden Reach, and then there's Cochin Shipyard. So we thought we'll bring in Vivek to round up this action. Vivek, I don't know, I mean, someone was saying that maybe there's another list coming out with exclusive products that have to be made in India, but not quite sure. What are you picking up, and what's the buzz around these stocks?
Well, absolutely, it's the entire defense space, and like you rightly mentioned, within the defense space, it's the shipbuilding too that's seeing quite a bit of traction in today's trading session. So quite a bit of positive news flow coming in, some sentiment based as well, strong order books. But let's have a look at, some of the reasons that we've garnered that we believe could be aiding the rally as far as the defense space is concerned. First, HDFC has come out with a defense fund
which, so basically the aim of the fund, and it is an NFO that they've come out with, the aim of the fund is to invest predominantly in defense and allied sector companies. And what we gather is that, the fund managed to raise almost 1,000 crores and in fact close subscription a day or two prior to what was the actual planned, close of the subscription. So strong NFO fund gathering is one particular space. Remember, the fund would be investing within the defense and allied sectors. Number two, like you mentioned, the indigenization list. So there have been 4 defense indigenization lists. What does it basically mean? Defense PSUs compulsorily source the weapons as well as components from domestic PSU defense companies. And so far, we've had 4 lists which have strongly aided to the order book of most of the defense PSUs. And lastly, coming to the shipbuilder space, while Q4 was an aberration, some companies have had, specific points in terms of the kind of order inflow, also the kind of, earlier they used to have, orders coming to them on a specific basis, but now, it's a competitive based bidding. But despite that, most of the shipbuilder companies are actually sitting at very strong and record high order books. So Garden Reef has an order book of over 25,000 crore, Cochin Shipyard over 21,400, and Mascot Dock over 40,000 crore, which gives them significant revenue visibility for more than a couple of years. And all of this is aiding the rally today as far as the entire space is concerned.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Vivek. Well, moving on then onto the pharma space. Now, some popular cough syrups, they have been pulled off the shelves after the government banned 14 fixed dose drug combinations, that's FDC, over the weekend. Ekta was with us to fill us in with all of those details. Ekta?
Thanks for that. Well, yes, I'll start with the news that over the weekend, the government did ban 14 fixed-dose combination drugs. So brands such as Codistar, which is by Mankind, and Telecom, which is by them as well, and Ascaril C by Glenmark are in focus on account of this. Now, the government did cite a lack of therapeutic rationale, and the government did ban drugs mainly used to treat cold, cough, respiratory infections. Now, there are 10 cough syrup combinations which are banned. And codeine, all kinds of cough syrups which contain codeine are now off limits. They cannot be sold. Now, industry sources have told me that a total of around 500 crore worth of products have been impacted on account of these 14 FTCs now coming under the hammer. So, for example, Abbott, which is the unlisted arm, Phenycyl Cough Linctus, which is one of their key brands, it's an important brand for them, could actually be in this ban. Separately, we have Mankind's Codistar, which has a size of around 140 odd crores. We have around 25% market share, grown to 34% CAGR from FY20 to December 22. So that one is likely to be under the scanner as well, along with Telecom LX. Now, Glenmark's Ascaril C, that's around 19 to 20 crores in terms of size. That too is under the ban. Dr. Reddy's has indicated to us that there is no impact on ZX portfolio of brands that they have. They are not promoting one of the brands which is already in the ban, which is Dialex DC. So one of the biggest impacts that we could probably see from the listed space is Mankind, where they do have 2 brands which could be under the hammer.
All right, Ekta, thanks very much for that. So that is cough syrups, under a fair bit of scrutiny, and Mankind is taking a bit of a knock, is down 3%. Amit Gupta is with us now, Vice President and Fund Manager at ICICI Securities Portfolio Management Services. Amit, good to have you with us here. Thank you very much for your time. I just want to start with one area which I think is starting to get talked about, at least. I think we've discussed this in the past, about a month and a half back when you were in the program, power utilities. And whether, over the next couple of months, these stocks will make one money. We had S. Naren of the asset management side, ICICI AMC, with us, who was highlighting that as an opportunity area, Amit. Do you like it? Do you own it? And which ones in particular?
So I think definitely, because if you look at on the domestic front now, there are many sectors which are emerging, and power is one of those, because the peak power demand is continuously rising in India. We have seen few years back it was 200 gigawatt, but now it is somewhere close to 231 gigawatt. And if you look at the installed capacity, it is around 420, but we have almost, in the renewable around 180, 190 gigawatt. But still the thermal and the hydro is somewhere around, 240 or 238 gigawatts. So in that case, what we are seeing, the companies like NTPC or NHPC, now they are, moving into the renewables also. And that is where the re-rating has started. But on the top of it, I think the major problem was the SEBs, the state electricity boards, which were in heavy losses actually so far. But whatever complaints in the power we have seen by the government so far, whatever theft was happening in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and then, the SEBs, they were not able to purchase power also from the power generation companies. We have seen that their losses have reduced by 45%. I think this is going to be a big trigger going forward. And this is where the power generation or the finance companies also, like Power Finance Corporation, so they have also started participating. So we have taken NHPC also in our portfolio, because I think this company is also going for another, capacity addition now. And this is where I think the re-rating is there on the cards. You look at NTPC, which is already there with 70 gigawatt of thermal capacity. It is adding another 60 gigawatt now in renewables by another 7-8 years now going forward. So this is where I think the focus is going to be. And then the next is they may be selling some of the stakes in the renewable part also. And this is where the new valuations will come up. So from these levels, I think a lot of upside is possible now in these areas.
Amit, any thoughts on these defense/shipbuilding companies? Names like a Mazgaon Docks. Recently, HDFC has launched a new NFO to cater to the defense stocks. But look at the kind of up move we've seen in names like Mazgaon. Today, it's up, 15-16%. Over the last couple of days, it's seen buying. And if you pull up a one-year chart of Mazgaon Docks, you would see that there was a similar euphoria which took place 7-8 months back. The stocks rallied to levels of 900, 950. Then it had a sharp correction of about 33%. And once again, these stocks have seen buying. That's the 6-month, one-year chart of Mazgaon Docks. What's led to this recent round of euphoria in these companies?
So see, the defense, as you rightly said, there is more money flow actually, which is likely to move into the defense area from the various fraternity actually now. So we talk about some kind of valuations reaching to a certain level, but then we see that, some kind of money flow from various institutions, can come in actually in these segments. Because obviously out of the 10 lakh crore of government capex, a major part is going here also in the defense. And this is where I think one area is you look at these type of companies, or another thing is you can look at some other private companies also. For example, Bharat Forge. So this particular company, we have already seen, some kind of decline after the results. But we are very positive in this particular stock because along with the auto ancillary theme, because auto is also bottoming out. And because the interest rates are topping out, we believe that this defense story in this particular stock is also evolving. So this can also be a good candidate where from the valuation perspective, now we have some comforts. And I think, again, those kind of life high levels of, 900, where it was actually before, I think those will be taken out. So this is where I think some selective bets needs to be taken because some of the PSUs have already run up in the defense space. And I think some kind of blending stories like Bharat Forge can do better if suppose some kind of correction comes going ahead in the defense area.
Okay. Amit, hi, good afternoon. You were speaking about auto, and I was just thinking that auto really has been the dark horse of 2023, right? This was a year when we were saying maybe poor rural demand, uncertain monsoon, high cost of ownership. None of that prevented sales from moving higher. And look at auto stocks. I mean, 40% up on Tata Motors this year in 2023. Bajaj is up 30%. Maruti is up 15%. So my question is that given this rally, do you still see further headroom for auto stocks? Which ones would you still be comfortable buying? I mean, TVS is up 70% in the last 1 year. So I guess from an investor's point of view, the question is, can the going continue to be as smooth?
So I think auto has remained subdued for quite a while, and now we are clearly seeing a money flow there. And in fact, last year, passenger vehicles, we had the record registrations. So almost 39 lakh registrations happened. Generally, we used to see 31, 32 lakh registrations actually. And now you have seen the two-wheeler numbers also coming good recently. And that is where this was the only segment which was lagging. Now, if you look at tractor as another space, which was performing before, but now we believe there may be lesser rainfall possibly going forward. There is a question mark. And then the higher base impact. But still, I mean, I was visiting some of the companies recently the tractor companies in India. And what I noticed that it is not only the farmers which are using tractors now, even some of the industries for loading their products, they are using tractors if it is not too far of a distance, because tractors prices are, much lower, 4.5, 5 lakh when you compare with trucks, which is available around 35 lakh rupees. So this is where, in the automobile, in various spaces, you have different kind of triggers now coming up. So you generally look at OEMs. I think the time is coming when the auto ancillary also we need to start looking at now. And we have already seen some run up. For example, look at Apollo Tires. So this is one company, which is getting 70% from domestic and 30% from the European markets. And we saw when the energy prices were shooting up actually in the Europe, because it operates from Hungary, and Hungary has a special pact with Russia. So the energy prices were not too high in that reason, and these companies really minted money and they increased the market share actually. So Apollo Tire also increased by 270 bips actually in that period, and it gets 31% market share actually in the commercial vehicle, which is the next big thing because of infra spending and all. I think after the new government gets elected again, that particular theme will pick up more and more. And this is where I think these kind of products companies are coming up now. And the crude also has remained lower, which is acting as positive for the margin expansion perspective actually for these companies.
Okay, Apollo Tires, point taken there. Bharti, Amit, I remember you saying you like the name, and what are your thoughts, latest?
So my thought is telecom stocks now are going to start very soon, because we have already seen 5G expansion in India, and this was one of the sharpest expansion we have seen, even if you compare with the developed markets. And next is the 5G applications which are going to be used. We have to see that, and that will add on another thing actually in the revenue. But so far it is ARPUs which is the trigger, and you are clearly seeing that they have not increased the tariff rates, but rather they have lower the prepaid cards of 99 rupees, and last one is 155. So automatic growth of 50% around is seen actually in the tariff rates, which is close to 193 for Bharti, and that may be the trigger for Reliance also, but that's a blended one. So Bharti may be the first one actually which will have a sharper move, I think, going forward. And not only in the case of Bharti Airtel, I think some kind of ancillary companies, for example, Tata Communication, I think that is another one which has consolidated for a very long period. And we saw that the top management of TCS, Mr. Lakshmi, actually he left the company. He was heading the telecommunication division, and then he moved to Tata Com. And we have seen there are clear mandates, to get the productivity the productivity to improve in the company, and to take the ROCE above 30%, which is already at 24%. I think this company is looking much better, and the 59% holding is there of the Tata, which is thus next to TCS. And I think this is where in the component-wise telecom also, you are going to see a growth. And this also caters to the outside world. We have to see that. And because of that, it has already consolidated for a very long period, I think, now. And I think the time is coming for the performance. So we are very gung-ho actually on the telecom now from here onwards.
Bullish on telecom. Amit, thank you very much for joining in. Need to get into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you a check on what dealing rooms are saying in our favorite segment, D Street Chatter. We'll also get you a few calls, trading calls, BTST calls from our experts.
A road trip in a CNG car.
Where will all the luggage go?
OMG! It's CNG! Big boot, big appeal, big reaction. OMG! It's the Altroz iCNG.
डायबिटीज कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने इतने स्टेप्स उठाए। नो थैंक्स। तो हमने भी आपके लिए एक कदम बढ़ाया। बजाज अलियांज लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रेजेंट्स डायबिटिक टर्म प्लान, इंडियाज ओनली टर्म प्लान एक्सक्लूसिवली डिजाइन फॉर डायबिटिक्स। ये प्लान आपको हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल अपनाने पर रिन्यूअल प्रीमियम्स पे रिडक्शन देता है।
समझो हो गया। दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। कहा देश का सबसे बड़ा पावर प्लांट बनाना इम्पॉसिबल, तो हमने पॉसिबल कर दिया। बोला कोने कोने तक बिजली पहुंचाना किसी के बस की बात नहीं, हमने पहुंचा दी। सवाल उठे, एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली गैस सब तक कैसे पहुंचेगी? हमने वो भी पहुंचा दी। कहा तो ये भी गया, पैकेज फूड बिजनेस हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, लेकिन हमने कर दिखाया। बातें उठी, सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई, देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। और जब कहा गया देश के एयरपोर्ट्स इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के नहीं हो सकते, तब भी हमने सुना नहीं, कर दिए। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते, हम करके दिखाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
Yes, it's okay for us to nod for everything, because we are parrots. Yes, but your wealth manager? Shouldn't be doing that. You know?
Choose Nuvama. We only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
Welcome back to Closing Bell, and we are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal newsroom. Well, a lot of you all have written in the last few days and said, what's happening to D Street Chatter? I'll tell you what, there's good news. Nimesh is back. He was on a short vacation for a couple of weeks. He's back. Nimesh, good to have you back. I'll tell you what, a lot of people personally as well had written in. What happened to Chatter? So I said, it'll be...
need some break, right?
Yeah, you need some break. And, good to have you back. So tell us, what are you picking up now?
But Nigel, before I talk about today's market, what a move in the mid-cap and small-cap in the last 2 weeks. I was just looking at, on Friday, I looked at the data for the last 2 weeks, and some stocks have just rallied for 40-50% with no news, no nothing. I mean, I was like, even I was surprised the kind of move we've seen in the mid-cap. Good that, people are making money. But coming to today's market, while, we've seen a gap up, and after that, it's been a consolidation, not big moves on either side, right? Yeah. And that's largely because today's flows are very, very selective into some select large cap names. It's not like a full, blow on rally from the FIs in the broader market. So that's the overall feedback. Well, the defense stocks are doing good today, but not really big moves or big feedbacks of large buying interest coming in. In fact, the HDFC Defense Fund, which was closed last week, they've only raised 1,000 crores and they've closed there. So it's not like they've raised large amount of money which will get deployed into this defense name. So it looks like it's more of an excitement towards that. You're seeing a big move in the defense stocks. But in terms of pure buying, is the select private bank stocks and the autonomous. That's where the feedback is. There is genuine buying and money is chasing those names from the larger institutions. That's the overall feedback. I guess, technically we are still in the positive zone. So Nifty at 18,600. Can it go to 18,800? It can go. I mean, there is a resistance around those levels. But I think that today was the first sign, or maybe I've come after 2 weeks, but the feedback is some signs of profit booking as well. So there is some bit of money taking out of the table as well into this rally. So just keep that in mind. That while we're seeing a bit of momentum, one needs to be cautious as well. So that's the overall feedback from the day.
Yeah, and after the kind of rally that you're seeing, maybe cleaning out your portfolio to some extent as well will be healthy actually.
Just to rationalize and take and digest the kind of moves you've seen in the broader market.
Indeed. Nimesh, but there were a couple of large trades as well today, and there are some stocks that are normally on your radar, and our team is saying, tell Nimesh to give us the juicy details. So give us the juicy details.
Okay, in terms of individual stocks, the first stock on my list today is MTAR Technologies. There is a large block, nearly 5% equity changing hands. I believe the promoter entity was a seller in today's block, and maybe today was the last block. So the disclosures could be important as far as MTAR Technology is concerned. The second stock is Minda Corp. Off late, you've seen some bit of accumulation in this particular stock as well, buzzing off late. I believe one of the leading sovereign fund is an active buyer in Minda Corp of late. Remember, the company has also announced a provision to raise funds, and they're looking to acquire Precol as well. So that's been part of the news of late in Minda Corp. The third stock is Bharti Airtel. Even last week when I was not there, there's one day when we saw a big move. Even at these levels, I believe there is strong buy flows. Plus, there are some bids as well from larger FIs. So there is interest in Bharti Airtel from larger institutions at these levels. And the last stock is IIFL Finance. Seems to be back on HNI radar couple of large HNIs bought, I believe, last week as well. And in IIFL Finance, the other trigger is one of the domestic insurance company was a seller. That seems to be pretty much over now, and hence it's back on the in the HNI investors of late, and hence that stock should be on the radar. That is IIFL Finance.
Okay, all right. Thanks for all the chatter and all the buzz, Nimish. Good to have you back with all that's moving in the markets. Well, with that, let's get back to the technical call. Kush Bora is back with us, and we have the Nifty actually cooling off a bit. We have slipped below the 18,600 marks. Some nerves, Kush, it's very, very evident that this market is slightly nervous around this level, this range of 18,500 to 18,600. What's your index call now, and then what about stocks?
Spoke a while ago that the low levels of wicks are perhaps going to play spoil sport, so I won't be surprised if we spend some time here. In fact, even probably pull back a little from here. 18,400, 18,500 is where I'll get comfortable buying Nifty. 43,800, thereabouts is where I will get comfortable buying Bank Nifty. For now, I would suggest, better off, trading in stocks. Indices, if you have, existing positions, hold on to them with trailing stop losses because of the momentum. But otherwise, the risk ratio is not really as favorable. So that's on the indices. As far as the BTST calls go, I have two of them. First is L&T. Now, the stock was in a bit of a slump. I would rather call it profit booking, and now it's showing very clear signs of revival. In fact, on Friday it crossed its 20-day moving average. Today it's comfortably sustaining above its 50-day moving average, which is a very clear sign that the stock is in a revival mode now. So here 23.15 and 23.50 are the two targets that I would watch out for on Larsen and Toubro. 20 to 40 is where I would have my stop loss. The other pick is RBL Bank. Again, the stock has not participated until recently in the entire banking rally. Now it seems to be gaining traction on the back of very good volumes. So this momentum would continue for 177 and 180 levels. 170 is where I would place my stop loss.
Okay, thank you very much for that. FTSE's index changes will be effective from the 16th of June. What are the expectations? Can we see inflows or outflows? Vivek is here with the details.
Well, that's right. It's not as big an event as, the one that just transpired of the MSCI, but an important one nevertheless. So FTSE, as you rightly mentioned, on the close of June 16, 2023, the changes will be effective. Again, it's a net inflow event as far as India is concerned. A slightly smaller quantum of around $250 million is what IIFL Alternative Research anticipates would come into India on that particular day. Which are the stocks to keep on your radar? First on your list would be Medanta Global Health, expecting inflows of slightly over 8 million there. So it enters the FTSE All-Cap Index. So does Piramal Pharma. Both of these stocks are quite active in the session, in today's trading session. Apart from that, a few other stocks to keep on the radar on the back of weight increases that would be seen. So Wipro, expect flows of close to $21 million. PNB as well as Varun Beverages. Some of the other stocks that will see inflows include the Adani Group stocks, Adani Ent as well as Adani Transmission. Samvardhana and Motherson post a block deal, Godrej Properties, ONGC as well as Solar Industries. All of the flows are IIFL Alternative Research. A few stocks that we are highlighting on the back of traction that we are seeing in the space today.
All right, got that. Thanks very much, Vivek, for getting us updated on this list, the changes on the FTSE indices. Well, with that, let's welcome in Anand Tandon onto the show. Anand, good afternoon. Great to have you on as usual. I want to start with the pocket of the market that isn't doing too well, and that is the FMCG space. Largely speaking, consumer stocks. What has been your takeaway from results season when we're talking consumer, and how would you approach this side of the market, given that there are still some uncertainties? We don't know how rural demand shapes up, monsoons, etc.
Well, I think that's the key issue that you're going to have to debate going forward, whether or not the rural demand will pick up. And I think, to my mind, the odds are that they will have to, because this is a year where you have many states going into election. And therefore, the amount of money that will be available to rural India will be significant. Plus, the crop prices are also much better than they've been in the recent past, in the last few years. So the general agricultural support will also be quite good. Monsoons may or may not play spoil sport. If they do, I would imagine more transfers from government. If they don't, you will anyway have a good income. So to my mind, it's a safe bet to say rural demand will pick up, and therefore any stocks which are focused on that, right now that would be my perhaps a high conviction bet. That obviously means, things like two-wheelers, tractors, and so on as well, farm inputs, and some of the FMCG which have a slightly higher rural exposure.
Okay, got that. Since we're on the subject, well, let's listen in from an industry giant, HUL. Our colleague caught up with HUL's Chief Financial Officer, Ritesh Tiwari. He's speaking about the company's outlook going forward and how growth is largely going to be more volume-driven. Take a look.
For FMCG business overall market, long period, look at last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, growth typically comes 2/3 from volume and 1/3 from price. Yeah. Given the amount of inflation that we had seen for last 1.5 to 2 years' time, growth has been led by pricing. What will change going forward as commodities are tapering off? We are seeing sequential declines as well in many large commodities. Price will taper off, and going forward, the growth will be volume-led. Within the flat volume, urban is growing by 3%, rural is still declining by 3%.
Okay, so that was the word coming in from Hindustan Unilever. I think
the banks are selling off now. Pull up the Nifty Bank
Nifty.
intraday,
Yeah.
And you would see a fall of close to about 150 points from the top of the trading session, and the falls just come as we speak. There you have that Nifty Bank, decline. Names like ICICI Bank are putting some pressure. So just watch for what's happening on the financial front.
Even the Nifty, Rima, from 250 or so, which is basically the last 30 minutes basically. The Nifty is given up about 40 points, 45 points, and now there's just about 55, 56 points. The drop-off started about 115 onwards, slow drift, and then it picked up from about 240, 250 or so on your screen. So once again, that 18,500, 18,600, not quite being able to cross that with conviction at all. Broader markets, I don't think there's any big drop-off or anything which has happened. The small cap index is, there is a little bit, but not much. 1/3% higher on the small cap index. It was up 0.5% when we started. And you got the mid cap index, which was up 1/3. It's up 0.1, 0.15% or so. So yes, there is some sort of give back which has happened. Market breadth is, it was 3:1 earlier. It's about not quite 2:1, but just about there. So that's the closing last few minutes of action. We'll take a quick break here. Anand is with us. More conversation on the other side.
CNG is good, but to get something, you have to give up something.
OMG! It's CNG! Big boot, big appeal, big reaction. OMG! It's the Altroz ICNG.
What if you could get your goods to the right place at the right time all the time? With IBM Consulting, AI-powered software can help automate your supply chain so products can be ordered, produced, and delivered more efficiently. What will you create? IBM, let's create.
I am slow. I'm a tortoise. But your wealth managers, they shouldn't be as slow,
Choose Nuvama. We move at the right pace because we only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
Balcony?
Same है.
Drawing room?
भी same है.
Kitchen area?
Same है.
हमने लिए 90 लाख में, आपने लिए 80 लाख में।
ये सेम क्यों नहीं?
क्योंकि आपके और हमारे होम सर्च ऐप सेम नहीं है। जानिए प्राइस ट्रेंड्स और सही ट्रांजैक्शन प्राइसेस on 99acres.com। घर लेना हो या बेचना, 99 acres से ही पूछना।
नहीं मूर्ति, कोई फायदा नहीं अब। मूर्ति, कोई जरूरत नहीं भाई।
नई कार खरीदने से पहले एको चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
किराए के घर में कैसा रेनोवेशन? तो सिग्नेचर ग्लोबल है ना, ले लीजिए स्मार्ट डिसीजन।
ट्रेडिंग shouldn't feel like this, इसलिए हमने बनाया ICICI Direct Flash Trade, जो देता है clutter free experience, quick entry और exits, live tracking के साथ, सिर्फ ₹7 per order. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
You got it now.
Okay, welcome back. You're with us on Closing Bell. Anand is with us. Anand, hi. Thanks for staying on. 5 minutes to go for close. In broader markets, mid-caps, small caps, anything you've bought recently? Because that is the space which continues to rally hard. So unless you own a small cap fund and you have exposure to one or two of these names, it's very hard to, it's not hard, but it's impossible to rotate out of what is out of momentum to in momentum, because then, 2 days or a week later, that is out of momentum, something else starts to rally. What's the best way to play this? And what have you been doing? That part of the market.
Well, obviously, if you are an investor, you will not try and chase the momentum, because you just can't. If you're a trader, I guess you don't have a diversified enough portfolio. You have a few stocks you are focused on, and therefore you can. If you're a trader, though, I would find it very unlikely that you would be chasing a small cap, because all said and done, that they are also the more illiquid parts and you cannot leverage, etc. So broadly, for somebody like me, where I don't have actually the ability to trade on a daily basis, you are really looking at buying for the medium to long term, and therefore it doesn't very much matter where the area of momentum is. My focus is always to look at the strategic portfolio positioning and then figure out how much of your asset allocation you need to put into what. For most investors who are looking at your channel, I think a small cap fund would be good. Remember, the only risk that you have in small cap at this stage, given that there is a reasonably broad-based market upswing, is the fact that there can be any squeeze in liquidity. So long as that is not on the horizon, and right now we don't seem to be heading into one, you're likely to continue to see small cap outperforming for the near term.
Any high conviction ideas, Anand, for you? I remember our last conversation, you were looking at gas stocks very closely. Anything that you would like to add where you think the tide is turning in the small cap space one should look at?
Well, I don't want to make stock recommendations at this stage. But
thematically?
I think energy continues to remain very, fairly good place to be. And that includes oil and gas as well as power. I think even now most of the power utilities, I remember having a discussion sometime last year when we were talking about NHPC. I think, stocks like NTPC, NHPC, even Coal India and so on. Coal India, only because of the follow-on offer is subdued. But otherwise, if you look at just the dividend yield, these are all companies which are continuing to do reasonably well, and in my view will continue to do well. There is, of course, the big daddy of them all, Reliance, which I think will eventually give you a big jump. Of course, it's nowhere near small to mid cap. But if you are looking at consumer side of the business, as I said, some of the innerwear companies, especially those based on cotton, are actually, in my view, fairly attractively priced because they've had a very bad year last year. And I believe that the worst is behind them. Cotton prices have come down. We are now looking at a possible uptick there. So there are a lot of stock picking opportunities if you want to continue to be in the field. Many of the hospital companies, especially the smaller ones, not necessarily Apollo, which is somewhat expensive, but even Apollo will almost double its earnings over the next couple of years. So many of the smaller ones are reporting excellent numbers. So I think there is a variety of stocks that India offers, but I don't really want to make specific named recommendations.
Okay, got that, Anand. Thank you very much for joining us and being with us through the end of day's play. We have just a minute or so left before the bell goes off. So let's quickly recap what will go down probably as not a very exciting day from a bull standpoint. The reason I say that is that the market, just barely managed to hold on at least half the gain that it started the day with. There was no follow through. So it wasn't a good bullish day where you make more money after a gap up. That didn't quite play out. The Nifty, for what it's worth, has still managed a 60-point gain, so that's not bad. Mid-cap index almost flattening out as we are closing up, and the Bank Nifty also paring down its gains. The Bank Nifty was up almost 0.7% at one point in time, but final tally is more close to the 150-point up move. So what worked? Auto and banks were the strongest themes in the market. Quite a few auto stocks at their 52-week highs. Count in M&M in that, 4% gain coming in. Tata Motors, 2% higher. You had Bajaj Auto hitting a fresh 52-week high as well. It's looking good over there. Private sector financials, private sector banks doing very well. Axis led from the front, 2.5% up. You had an IndusInd Bank up about 1% as well. ICICI Bank holding on to gains, about 1% higher. And HDFC Bank was the one that slipped, couldn't quite retain that momentum and is finally ending its trajectory on the red side of the screen. So So that's the story on some of the auto and some of the financial names. But Rima, I guess it was FMCG. I mean, the one part of the market that was dull right from the morning and continued to be that way was really FMCG, with names like Nestle. You know, you have Asian Paints, ITC, quite a few of those
perhaps
players.
the news about the monsoon hitting Kerala by a little delayed, right? By I think 4 or 5 days. Maybe that has dampened the spirit for some of these FMCG names. But as you pointed out, these were the stocks under pressure. Even Hero MotoCorp, which is a greater rural tilt in the automotive basket, that was down close to about 1%. Divi's Laboratory sold off 1.3%. But a quick run through of the notable mid-cap movers. On the gaining side, Mazgaon Docks 19% higher, Cochin Shipyard up 11%. NUV, that was higher by 5.5% as some of the liabilities of their subsidiary have now come down. So the debt obligations are being lowered. So that's positive for the stock. You had Piramal Pharma gaining 9%, HBL Power higher in trade. On the losing side, Nokri was down 3% after the Macquarie downgrade. Mankind Pharma has been impacted by the latest order on the fixed dose combinations. So one of their drugs will be impacted. So Mankind Pharma lost 2.5%. Minda down 2% despite that fundraising news. And other than that, you had some softness in financial names like Manappuram as well as South Indian Bank. All in all, it's a close in the green, but the Nifty misses closing above 18,600 by a whisker, up 65 points on the Nifty. The sensex up 300 points. With that, it's a wrap and closing bell. Thank you very much for watching. Don't go anywhere. A very special conversation with the management of HUL coming up next.